Hey everyone, welcome to the Centre Bounce. We're here to break down my first team of 2023. Let's get Supercoach on the road.
Hey Joe, how you
Big
doing?
J?
Welcome to 2023. Should be a big year. And how was your news?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Big J. Looking forward to the year to come. It's been a very, very busy December for me. I've had family over from the States, and they just left a couple of days ago. So it's been really busy, sightseeing, bit of beach, hopefully a bit of tan if people can tell. But that's it. It's over. Holidays are over. We're well and truly into cracking into business here. And
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely no better business than forecasting and predicting what the next $50,000 winning team is. And it's going to be me. All right. It's mine. Don't you worry about it.
Okay, I'll let everyone else know. Hey, Joe's coming in. That's it. Stand back. Forget to make your trade for a couple of weeks. Give him that advantage, right?
Yeah, don't even worry about playing. You might as well just let me. That's it. There's no point playing. We're gonna win here, and our viewers are gonna win big too. I think so. Yes, this is a different looking team than other teams you might have seen.
Yeah, it's weird. Like looking at football. Obviously, Supercoach came out pre-Christmas, but now it's kind of where it really starts, right? Like teams are starting to come back from holidays next week. People are actually making their real teams, or trying their best anyway, finding what works and what doesn't. Um, but then, yeah, and all these articles and Supercoach for the regulars will come out soon as well.
Yep, that's exactly right. This is my first iteration, my first team, given that I haven't that I've been a bit preoccupied before now. So it will be interesting, I think, for the viewers to maybe compare how their first team looks like compared to mine. Uh, I'm not the most experienced in Supercoach. I do have a lot of. I did do well last year, finished just outside the top 100 with a bit of unconventional trading, I suppose, and team setup. So I don't know. We'll see how it looks this year as well.
Before we get kind of cracking into your team, have you found that you've done a lot of research on players already, or you kind of just picked who you like in the positions?
It's mostly been who I like in the positions, a bit of. Obviously, there's a bit of reading around and seeing how players are going before their break, but also I think a major component has been looking at the players' past and looking at their current price and saying, "Oh boy, this guy picks himself essentially." So
Mm,
it's a bit of, but I think there's a lot of players. There are more than a few players, I think, that are in that position. You can't pick all of them. So I think that it's going to be interesting. We definitely are waiting on more data, especially when the players return to their training. So this is all, I think, everywhere you see, it's mostly speculation, but there's also a bit of forecasting. People who follow their football, people who love their football, they love it so much that they come to fantasy and they try to apply it even further. So I
mm.
think there's going to be a lot of educated guesses, but of course, only time will tell how it's looking in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Do you think there's a bit of Essendon bias kind of floating in there a little bit? No? Oh,
No,
that's good.
I am as unbiased as they come. Okay,
All right.
don't laugh
Well,
like
let's
that.
check.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh. My team is completely unbiased, and you'll see it. You'll see it, mate.
All right. Well, let's check out your team.
All right, let's do it.
Um, do you want to put it up, or do you want me to put it up?
I mean, I'm sharing. I don't know how to put it.
Okay.
Do I
Okay.
press this one?
There you go.
Oh,
Cool.
there we go. Yes. This is 150th heaven. Because when I made it last year, it was Essendon's 150th anniversary, but
Mm-hmm.
it was anything but heavenly.
Yeah.
I should probably change it to 150th hell, and it might be more fitting, I think. But this is the team as it stands. In general, I'm still tossing, still early days in terms of the structure of what I want it to be like. But I do feel that there are quite a few mid prices that can really jump up and make us some cash, and they can become very quickly and very easily become a primo. And I'm thinking that top 8 mids, I don't know, is it really necessary to have? I think in general midfielders are scoring a lot better. I almost think and because you have so many options in the midfield, I think it might not be the most important thing to nail it so much, apart from just having the key crucial players that are clearly on top and having the rest. Um, and last year, I really prioritized finishing my midfields really quickly. Um, I did it to the point where I ended up having all these players who are targeting these really juicy players like Zach Merritt, who were great for the price and then ended up going on a tear. But by that point, I had already got a completed midfield. So it was an interesting situation to be in. And so I'm thinking of leaving myself with a bit more flexibility. And I'm really just trying to nail some of the big players, as well as trying to look for as much upside as possible.
No, fair enough. Well, why don't you try and take us through like each line, maybe starting from the defense, and then you can talk about the players you brought in. How does that sound?
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, sounds good. So we'll start here in the back line. Might have zoomed in a bit too much. So here we start off. I've gone, as you can see, I've gone a 4 primo backline in this early stage in my very first iteration of the team. It's what I did last year, how I started off, and I think it was really good, especially in starting someone like a Tom Stewart last year. I hadn't started Sicily. He was one that was a wait and see. I considered him to be an upgrade target. But I got him just before he really exploded in price. But, he just seems the man. You have Sicily. He might be starting slow. He might be on negative, because he gives away an early free kick, early 50. And next thing you know, the guy's all of a sudden at 50 points, by the end of the quarter. He can just turn it on, and he's the man back there for the Hawks. So I really wanted him to start off in my team. I think he's great. Same thing with Tom Stewart. This guy was my number one player that I picked, my first player that I picked last year. I love the way Tom Stewart goes about his business. He's such a gun. And Geelong know that he's a gun, and he owns that backline. If you haven't allowed Tom Stewart to touch that ball, then you're not playing next week. This guy he's almost up there with like the captain of the team and the coach. He is so valuable, and he can play anywhere. If he's not getting enough of the ball in the backline, they push him up to on a wing, and he still finds the ball like nobody's business. Love Tom Stewart. He won't drop in price a lot. People were really bailed out by his suspension because this guy was absolutely on it. He was going to be unattainable. He was almost going to be the Callum Mills of the back line.
It was pretty rough.
So, yeah. So for someone like me that kept the faith and held on to Stewart all the time, if it sucked, I got all of his big scores, but it sucked when other people really were able to cash in as well and were not punished for not having him. But I still have utmost faith in this man. Someone that I didn't have as much faith in coming to a new team, new role, was Dawson, coming from the Swans to Adelaide. But he very quickly became a player that I love to hate, and it was so annoying. It just felt like everything he did was getting overscored. And I know I would sit there with you, Big J, and we'd be watching this game and be like, how the hell is he getting so many points? What is going on?
I love when that. It was a pain to watch because he'd be on like 20 points, first quarter, and you'd think, okay, slow game. And then by half time, he's on like 65, and it hurt not owning him last year.
It sucked, and he kept running, and people knew on the Crows knew, this guy is our best player. Let's give him the ball as much as possible, and he would just get and just repeat kick after kick, it was no, I'm not gonna miss this one. This guy I think is gonna be one of the most highly owned defenders
Mhm.
for this year. Another year with the Crows, another year of them, understanding their system, his teammates also knowing him a bit better. I have no doubt he'll be given even more responsibility. He'll be more settled, and that just means more of the ball. So I think Dawson is a lock in the back line. This guy, if not for him apparently being sick with a high break even and me worried that's going to ruin his cash gen, this guy would have stayed on my team the entire year last year.
Yeah.
Dacos, what an insane first year player he was. And he only
Mm.
appears to be getting better. He won the time trial for Collingwood. It's a question how Mitchell's appearance in the team, how that's going to affect him. Um, but this guy, he won his ball just through sheer gut running. And if he's improved his gut running ability, then good luck stopping this guy. So
Yeah.
I think he's still value for the price. So we get to Bose. Bose, I'm still not 100% sold on Bose. Um, I think part of the reasoning why I have him is because he's being currently paid a massive contract at Geelong, uh, in the sum of $800,000, and
Mm.
I know they got pick 7 to go with him, but would you really be looking to pay 800 grand a year just to get pick 7? I don't know. I think there's got to be some merit to this player, um, and he was given that much in the first place by Gold Coast, so clearly they saw that he was worth it at the time as well before they got into this salary cap issue. So there's got to be some talent there. I think he averages around 15, 16 disposals. Um,
Mhm.
there's been a few people retire from the Cats. They get a bit older, and of course they've just rejuvenated the list whilst also winning the flag, which is absolutely ridiculous. I have no doubt that if there's any team that can make the most out of a player and really transform their career, it's Geelong. So I think this guy's nothing but upside, not much there to lose. If he doesn't work out, then there are other players that I can either sideways or downgrade to. I think there are options like a Liam Jones, for example. Liam Jones is cheaper
Mm.
than Bose. Um, but I've gone with Bose over Jones simply because I don't think Jones was the most prolific scorer in the first place. He's been out of the system. Yeah, I think he should be able to make a spot in the best 22 at the Bulldogs. But having said that, AFL footy is something very different, and he's not a spring chicken anymore either. So I've gone with
No.
Bose, and my D6, I think, is probably going to be the number one owned player in the back line for this stage of the game, and that's one Connor the Trader McKenna. Um, he's back. He came back. He went home. No problem. No issue. Decides to come back. That's it. He's sick and tired of winning, and that's it. He's gotten over his homesickness apparently. So he's back home. He's back here, going to a top 4 lock team. So good luck to
Yeah.
him, I suppose. Um, will he be best 22? I think he will. Not out of ability, but simply because he feels a need that the Brisbane Lions have in terms of speed off the back line. I think they were really reliant on long penetrating effective kicks from the
Yeah.
likes of Rich and from the likes of Starcevic and from the likes of Kitty Coleman. Um, but Rich and Coleman are both injury prone these days now, and
Mm.
it's
And
very
Zorko too.
hard. Yeah, Zorko as well. So as you can see, there's clearly that's an area I think where Connor McKenna can really come and fill a need for them. He doesn't have to be the best kick of the football as long as he's able to break some lines and get the ball moving forward to what is shaping to be one of the most dangerous forward lines in the comp. So
Mm.
I think McKenna should get game time. It's not like he's been out of football, but he was playing Gaelic. So he's still got running in the legs, I suppose. So I think it's not out of the realms of the possibility that he plays round 1. Obviously, there's more left to play out, but we'll see how that goes. On the bench, got Charlie Dean. He was one that I actually had traded in last year because there was a lot of talk that this guy was definitely going to play. Unfortunately, the guy kept getting injured. But from what I've read, he's doing really well this year. Jordan Ruffett has retired. So I think there's a real opportunity for Charlie Dean to step up and play in round 1. So I think I just want playing rookies. I don't want rookies that are not going to play. And having said that, one that I think is a sneaky chance of playing is Rhett Montgomery for Essendon. He's been doing well in the preseason training. He's even been outbodying the likes of 2 Meter Peter, who won our best and fairest last year. So, and we're quite small in the back line as a whole already. So there is definitely an opportunity with a new coach to really step up and try and make a position available for himself in round 1. So that's why, I'm just looking for as many of these rookies to actually play, to actually make money. I don't want to deliberately start a loophole unless, especially if they're not DPP, like Montgomery is. So at this point, I think he's likely to play in round 1. So that's why I've got him.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. And moving to the midfield.
Okay, so we've got the man, the myth, the legend that is Clayton Oliver. I have been tossing and turning about whether or not I should pick him or not. As Big J, you are very well aware. I think $700,000 is a lot of money to play for one player. It's a lot of money to pay. And I think it's a bit of PTSD from having started McRae last year for his really high price, and it did not work out. So for me, do I go with that again? Especially having considered that McRae was like the king of Supercoach at the time and he was super consistent. But I've relented and I think I'm going to go with Clayton Oliver. You look at his ruckman, he's got Gawn and Grundy. You know what I mean? Like, this guy had the dream set and forget strategy, and he's got that now at all time. Not to say that Luke Jackson was not a good ruckman, because he's a good ruckman, okay? But I guess where Jackson's ability shines the most, I think, is just his ground level ability. And now he's got that in a more mature version with Grundy. And I think Grundy is one of the top players in the league when he's fit and healthy. So I think it can only do wonders for a guy like Clayton Oliver, who is still young. He's still only 25 years old. This guy could well and truly win the Brownlow this year. I think he just has this work ethic, this hunger, this desire to win the ball at all costs. Yeah, his disposal might not be the best, but it is improving, and it has been improved from his early days. He can actually kick now. So yeah. I think Clayton Oliver is going to be really hard to turn down. And he's just a captaincy option that you can, slap the C on every single week and really not have to think too much about it. And they're, tagging might be a thing, but De Boer is gone. See ya, De Boer. Rip Bozo. That's it. Clayton Oliver is free to dominate now, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. It's crazy to think like he could potentially be in our Supercoach teams in the midfield, close to being the high-priced, player for the next 5 or 6 years, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
Just lock in the midfield next 5 years. It's crazy.
That's the case, and he's just clearly the number one. I mean, yeah, Petrarca, his name pops up every now and then, but you look at the consistency of who the hell is in and under, winning the ball, and he's just a force. You will try tackling him, and he just somehow gets a handball out. It's insane. A lot of times people consider it throws, and I don't think they're wrong. In a lot of the cases, there's no way you can handball the ball that fast. But as long as he's not pinged for it, we're happy about that here at the
Yeah.
Centre Bounce. My next pick is, I think, one of the picks that has got one of the most upsides, I think.
Mhm.
Marcus Bontempelli. That's it. Dunks is gone. Hunter's gone. They've brought in Rory Lobb. So could it be that he's going to have a lot less forward responsibilities where he primarily plays as a midfielder and occasionally can drift forward for a mark? I think this is going to be an upside for him. I think when Dunkley's not playing, Bond's averaging over 120. And I think that's
Mhm.
what you want from your top scorers. And he's just silk. He's just class. He can do it all. You just love watching Bontempelli play, and that just gives me another reason to have to select him because I love watching the guy, and I don't really need a reason to sit and watch him. But now I've got double the reason to. Um, Andy Brayshaw is one that you've talked me up on, Big J,
Mhm.
in terms of his constant progression, and he's finished really high in the Brownlow medal count last season. And to be honest, it caught me by surprise. But when you watch and you see how he plays, he really is a two-way player. It's all, and it's not like he's super slow either. So I do think that there's going to be another step in his development, and I look forward to actually being on the Sprayshaw train this time. And yeah, he can cop a tag, but I
Mhm.
don't know. I think Freo are going to be really good next year, and I think their trades were very shrewd. And I think the acquisition of O'Meara is a bit understated, I think, but only time will
Okay.
tell.
Like
Uh,
you think he might take off some like pressure than what Brayshaw kind of would normally have during a game?
I do think so, and I can see them working in tandem really well. O'Meara is an experienced player, and he's one that you have to respect because he's a very talented footballer. Um,
Mhm.
and I have no doubt that these two are going to be able to strike up a great partnership in the midfield. And I can see that uh, there will be a lot of selfless behavior. I think there's going to
Mm.
be. There seems to be a good culture already building at Frio, but now that you've brought in someone like O'Meara, who's coming from a champion Hawks side that's had a lot of modern day success, uh, I think he knows what's going to be required. I think he understands that he's at the later part of his career. He's not going to be the guy. And I think he's really going to buy into the system that they've built over there. And Brayshaw will have another experienced head to learn from. So I think all of these things are going to be beneficial for Brayshaw. Uh, Breakouts, I think a lot of people maybe went 1 year too early on Tom Green. This guy, I
Mhm.
think, well and truly now is going to have his big breakout year. We saw many glimpses of it last year, and it seemed like it had arrived then and there. But you know, this GWS midfield has been completely, sucked dry of a lot of big names now. So I think Tom
Mm.
Green is well and truly going to step up. He's a contested beast. He's like a Glenn Oliver 2.0. And what's better than one Glenn Oliver? Two Glenn Olivers. So um, that's what I've got here. I've got two Glenn Olivers in my team, and yeah, some people might think it's a hack, but it's legal because they got different names and different colors. So yes, exploit this hack, guys. I reckon it would be very beneficial for you, especially at that price. You can't go wrong. Now, Jacob Hopper is one of those names that left that midfield. I think for the price, he's gonna he's definitely going to outscore that. He's going to make you money. He's going to be a successful acquisition, and him and a rookie can become a primo very easily, I think. So
Mhm.
he's definitely one that I think everybody's going to have. And the same thing with Will Ashcroft. I think many people are going to have this guy as well. His numbers in his under 18s were even better than Dacos, and we saw what an absurd season Dacos had last year. And if
Mm.
this guy is up there oh boy, you just no brainer. You just got to pick him, and I think
Yeah.
Brisbane will do everything they can to accommodate him, whether it be mid forward role, but the guy's got the talent to kick goals like no one's business. So, no issues with selecting Ashcroft. He'll be a
Yeah.
successful pick.
There's
Same thing with
something to
Will
be
Phillips.
said. Something to be said as well with picking like those number one rookies. Well, basically, he was supposed to be a number one rated rookie. You don't really want to be against the grain if he goes big and you don't have him, right? So better to pick
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
60% owned player. If you've got to trade him, then okay, but you don't want to miss out on him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because if everybody had the same team, then everybody's success is shared across everybody. But if you are that one person in your group of 10 people that have missed out on Will Ashcroft, then you're all of a sudden in the bottom 10% of that pool. So you don't want that antipod. A lot of people like to try and go for a point of difference to distinguish themselves from other teams and try and get the jump on them. But in other cases, when you've got someone as widely picked and widely recognized as the best young talent in Ashcroft, not going with him is really, really risky.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
a lot of people, the crowd, humanity, is a very smart body, I suppose. And if most people are picking someone, it's more likely than not that they're seeing something that you're missing if you decide to go against it. Okay. But of course, don't let us turn you away from sticking to your gut. And if you think that your gut and you really believe in what you think in the player, then at the end of the day, it's your team. You're the coach of this team, and you got to ride it. You got to ride it out, I suppose. And that's what I'm doing with my ruck line. And so we've got Will Phillips next. Big J knows all about this guy. He's an absolute lock in every single person's midfield. He is an absolute jet, super talented, super great work ethic. Really unlucky last year with 2 bouts of glandular fever. This guy is absolutely the real deal for this price. You can disregard everything I said about the previous player if you decide to not pick this guy. You actually have lost your mind if you don't pick this guy. And then we get to Baker. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Baker.
Baker.
All I know is all right, there you go. All I know is this guy he's on the field as a 123 900 rookie, which might be a bit different to a lot of other people what they've got. They might have Will Phillips in that last spot, but I believe that this guy he's too good, and the role he's going to play is too good for the Bulldogs that it would be a waste of points to have it be sitting on the bench. I think he's gonna be playing Lockie Hunter's role. Lockie Hunter left. He's a mature age recruit, and from what we can tell with Bevo to this day, he has no issues giving mature ages game time, especially if they show good form in the VFL. He likes to reward good form, and he's not afraid to change to move the magnets around. That's why Dunkley was so adamant on wanting to leave. Imagine playing Dunkley in the ruck. My God, man, unbelievable. So yeah, Baker, I think he's too good to put on the bench. I think this guy is well and truly capable of being a fieldable option. And part of the reason why I got that is also part of the structure. The reason I wanted to go big in the back line. Because I think the back line, having a solid back line just sets everything up, I think, nicely. And then we get to the bench. We've got Chesser, Richards, and Wagner. I think these are, Chesser was a name that was, being raised quite a bit, and West Coast traded up to get actually slid down because they knew that this guy was going to be around, and they were happy to make that slide. So they had their eyes on this man, and I think with the fact that they really need to rebuild, I wouldn't be surprised if this player, if Campbell Chester gets some more game time. And I just want rookies on the bench that are going to play as much as possible. I think Richards is one that will play. You look at his highlight reel, this guy just embodies Collingwood, that running, gunning, breaking lines, and kicking goals out of nowhere. I think he is definitely one that could find himself getting game time. The MCG is a big ground, and having another runner alongside Quaynor, I think, will be very powerful for Collingwood as they look to really try and go that one extra step and make it to that grand final. They were so close. I think a guy like Joe Richards, who just has this clutch factor about him, every time his team just really needs a lift, needs a drive to get over the top, you just see him streaming down. He's so fast. So I think he will definitely get game time, as will Corey Wagner. The guy needs no real introduction. He has not been recruited by Freo to sit there on the bench to play in the waffle. In the waffle VFL. This guy is going to get game time. Experienced head, great leader, great work ethic. He's not been the greatest success story by any stretch, but what he is he is a story of persistence, a story of perseverance, and really having to work hard to make the most of any opportunity that you have. He will instill character into these players. They are a young list, Fremantle. It's hard to figure, to remember that these guys are so young still and yet have so much promise. He will keep them grounded. He will make sure that they understand that they got to keep their nose to the grindstone, and he will definitely get game time. Which brings us to the rucks. I think this line is going to be the line that really separates me from everybody else. And it's because I've got Nick Madden on the bench. No, it's because I want Big Sammy Draper. Big Sammy Draper. Yes, I am biased. I am an Essendon supporter, and I don't have enough Essendon in my team. I just simply don't. I needed to have Essendon. No, he's not Essendon. He's a Lion, okay? He's a Lion now. So Darcy Cameron, I think, is a lock in everybody's team. I think this guy is going to be clearly the number one ruckman for Collingwood. The only reason why I didn't select him earlier last year is because I was afraid of how Grundy would affect him. That didn't even play out at all, so I feel like an absolute muppet. But otherwise, Cameron, he's just that kind of player that he's not the best tap ruckman, he's not the best ruckman going around, but he's serviceable enough and he's pretty good at ground level. He can take some marks. So this guy, his scoring output is really good, and you can bet your bottom dollar that this guy is playing every single game. Someone else is playing every single game, even during the buys, is Sam Draper, because this man can do everything that nobody else can. He is amazing. He is big, strong, athletic, raw. Yes, he is raw, which is why his scoring hasn't been the best. But another reason why his scoring hasn't been the best is because he lacked fitness. The guy was a goalkeeper before coming to football. I don't know much about soccer, believe me. But I can't imagine a goalkeeper is running a lot. I just can't. I might be really ignorant and showing my ignorance here, but the guy was a goalkeeper. And now all of a sudden he's playing the most physically demanding sport on the face of the planet in the history of mankind. Yes, and I'm including the bloody Colosseum as well, right? Fighting to the death. That's what this is. This is modern day gladiator, okay? And he was a goalkeeper before this. But these things have changed. Things have changed, Big J, because one Sammy Draper is becoming very, very fit and very, very confident. And you can see slowly that he was starting to take games apart last year, and none more so than when he kicked the goal of the year. You know what I mean? So
what do you project his average to be by the end of the season?
this guy is going to average 115.
Wow. Okay. We'll hold you to that. Come back end of the year.
Yes, do it. Do it. You will see. This guy is now running so much and is so fit to the point where even the biggest nitpicker in the history of nitpickers, Cornsey, is saying that this guy looked like a young Max Gorn. He was very impressed with Draper's running in the off season when he popped in and he had a look. And Draper's kicking has also really improved. He's now hitting short passes as well. He had some really big scores over the 100 whilst not being able to kick very well. So this offseason we can see that there's a marked improvement in both his marking and kicking and running. So I have no doubt that this guy, even if he might not be a keeper, even if unfortunately he gets injured or he gets suspended, it's definitely not because he's not good enough. I think he's well and truly good enough to be a top three ruckman in the entire league. He will make me money. He will make me money, and I look forward to seeing this pod really shine. And compared to all the people who are paying up, last year I missed out on Wits. I didn't start Wits. I didn't have that cheap ruckman. I'm gonna have the cheap ruckman this year, and I think Draper has a lot of things going for him. He'll be the number one ruckman at Essendon. He will well and truly be the number one. Nick Bryan still has to develop. You've got Andrew Phillips, who is really there. He knows he's only there just as a support. But Draper has improved his fitness so that he can ruck more of the game. So only upside with this pick, no downside. And Madden I've got on the bench simply because he's a mid forward. Just adds that flexibility, I suppose. Come to the forward line. I think it's a fairly standard forward line. Dunkley, F1. Don't even worry about it. Just set and forget. This guy, we know someone last year who didn't start Dunkley, and it was funny. It was really funny watching him try to justify that decision, and in the end, he had to get him anyway because this man is irresistible. Dunkley is a gun.
You don't want to not have like the number one forward in your team to start the team. It's pretty rough. I mean, he's not 700k, so he's still gettable for the price. But yeah, you don't want to not have him for like the first 5 weeks, I reckon.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And he's gonna be getting midfield time, baby. He's gonna be doing a lot of 1-2s with Lockie Neal. It's gonna be beautiful, man. It's gonna be beautiful. Tim Taranto, another one. Him and Hopper both moved from the Giants, and they both come to Richmond and straight into our Supercoach teams. Because Richmond's midfield is probably the one point where they needed to address, and they have. From the same team in the same trade period. It is really exciting. As has been the case for Tim Taranto, basically his whole career, he's a bit of a butcher, all right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because his ability to push forward and kick goals is really special. And I have no doubt that Dimmer Hardwick is going to love coaching this guy. And there's gonna be support. There's gonna be support for Dusty Martin. I think Richmond are going to be a lot better than some people are giving them credit for. Fife is one that I am tossing and turning about as well. It's a really optimistic pick. I think. Yeah, he's got the history, but he's coming off a lot of injury. But if you have a look at that picture of him in the preseason, he's training. Oh boy. That allayed a lot of fears, and that convinced me to put him in my team. He appears to be flying, and I don't need him to be that 100-plus player that he used to be back in the past. I don't mind if he's a 90. If he scores anywhere in the 90s for me, makes me money, so I can trade up to a primo, then he's done his job for me, I think. I don't have super high expectations for Fife, and keep your expectations low, you won't be disappointed. So that's what I'm doing with that. But one player I do have high expectations for, is Taron Thomas. You've spoken to me a lot, Big J, about this guy, and I've seen you on other channels, and he seems to be flourishing under Clarko, and there's no surprise. Clarko, he seems like he'll be an okay coach, I think. And he seems like he knows. Seems like he knows what he's talking about. And Taron Thomas, I'm sure he himself knows that last year was not a great year for him. And obviously, there were a lot of things out of his control. But that still doesn't make you feel good. It definitely will still drive you to want to play a lot better and try and arrest that negative momentum. And it just seems to me that he's really turned the corner. He's been really working hard. Seems to be playing off half back. So could this be Aaron Hall 2.0 from last year? Who knows? But I'm keen. I think nothing but upside for this pick as well. He was highly talented, oozes class, and there were discussions that people were thinking of even starting him last year, given how good he was the year before, how he was really growing and developing. So this one is not a flash in the pan. I think Taron Thomas this might be the first time we pick him for many years to come. Oscar Allen. This guy makes me lose sleep. I don't know, man. Picking a key position player for one of the worst teams in the comp is really hard for me to swallow, really. It's just that I respect him as a player so much. I really do. I think this guy is very talented, and I have no doubt that he is very highly rated by the Eagles. And he's likely to play every single game, barring injury, of course. That is probably the only reason why I have him on my team. Simply because he's got the job security, I think. I'm not expecting the world out of him. I wouldn't even be surprised if Comben on the bench ends up outscoring him, and I ended up playing Comben over Allen and just leave Allen on the bench just to be a slow burn. I wouldn't even be surprised at that point. But he's just a warm body.
You could always sideways to like a Ben King for a similar price as well. If the first couple of rounds you don't like him, King does better.
Yeah, Ben King, exactly. 176K. So also very affordable. It's just it's the same thing for me as well in terms of we've got a key position player coming off long-term injury. It's interesting. I'm not sure how many times in the past where you've seen key position players coming off long injuries perform well right off the bat. I haven't been in the game long enough to be able to have that information on hand, but it just seems to me that it is a bit more of a risk than one can initially tell at first glance. But I have him in for now, simply out of respect for his talent and the fact that he will play every game. McLean, I think, is also the biggest of locks in every single person's forward line. McRae was someone that I think a lot of people were talking about might be a breakout last year. Didn't really see it, but he won the best VFL player award for Collingwood this last season. So I think he's likely going to play, finally get his call up. And Comben, from what I can tell from reports and from your discussions, Big J, this guy is well and truly flying on the track.
Yeah, definitely. So, he's doing really well.
Yeah, so that's what I like. I like owning players who are going to play every game and who are doing very well. If I have a team full of those, then they'll be very good.
Nice.
What do you think of my team, Big J?
Yeah, I think for early January, before we've got a lot of preseason knowledge, before we've seen any, I'm going to say Amy games, but before we've seen any preseason games or training reports, that kind of thing, I think you're well versed to actually jump up the rankings and be kind of in that top group. Limiting the amount of rookies you've got on field, having a lot of established players and guys who, you've done your research and looked at kind of who's the breakout guys as well. So, yeah, I think you've done pretty well for the position and the time of year that we're in.
Thank you very much, Big J. And I think I credit all to one big Sammy Draper. I think this will be the defining pick. It will either shower me in glory or it will shower me in glory, because there is no doubt it will work. There is no hesitation. I have no doubt this guy is going to be a top 3 ruckman, I reckon, this year. And
Okay.
yeah, it might be my bias, but I wear it on my sleeve when I'm biased. So yeah, looking forward to the year to come, man.
Nice. Well, guys, that's Joe's first team for 2023. Hope you guys enjoy, and like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. We'll have lots of videos coming out this pre-season, so stay in tune for that. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you guys.